There is a famous quote that says, "The person you marry is the most important financial decision you'll ever make." I agree, but I want to take it one step further. Not only does the person who you're in a relationship with matter, but also the way that you manage your money together. That's why I've made this video. I want you to know why the way that couples approach money is crucial to financial success, understand the impact of shared finances on your relationship, and walk away with my 5-step game plan to managing your money together. Knowing your money personality is your first step for you to understand your approach towards money. You can take my free 2-minute quiz to help you understand your personality and also your partner's. Here's the hard truth. Couples who combine their finances tend to report higher levels of relationship satisfaction, also lower levels of divorce. If you're not interested in the money dynamics in your relationship, you might find it hard to understand why these things are connected. Well, it's mainly because combining finances requires couples to communicate openly, have shared values and goals, and it means trusting each other's judgments. Here's where it gets interesting. Couples who combine their finances are not only happier, they also become richer. Let's look at this example of one-man show Ollie and team Tom and Tilda. Both of them have the same household incomes. But in Ollie's house, he's the only one investing, and he puts away 12% of his income. That means he invests $20,000 every month. In team Tom and Tilda's house, they each invest 20% of their salary. Even though Tilda earns significantly less than her husband Tom, she still makes a contribution towards their monthly investments. That means an additional $4,000 towards their household investments. Now, if we just assume a 10% annual return, team Tom and Tilda actually end up with more than $7 million more. And this is just because even though her salary seems insignificant compared to Tom's, Tilda also made contributions towards their investments. I talk about the effect of compounding a lot on my channel, and I'm not going to go into a full lecture on that now. But take this as a reminder that even small contributions can have a significant impact over the long term if you remain consistent and if you give yourself enough time. And that means starting as soon as possible. Because in this case, it means a 4,000 Rand that can be invested every month can mean more than 4 million in over a 25-year period. So how can you actually approach your money as a team? Here's a 5-step game plan that you can start implementing in your household. Step 1 is identifying your values when it comes to money, and then looking at the values of your partner and identifying shared values. Identifying values is quite important for you to build a strong team, but also to understand each other and to understand your relationships towards money. Here are my top 5 values to consider: security and stability, financial freedom, generosity, growth, and enjoyment. So how do you determine your values? I usually have a questionnaire that you can complete, but here are some examples for you to think about. If you, for example, value financial security, that would mean that you don't change jobs often and that you also prefer to have a big emergency fund in place, and also you really don't tend to take a lot of risk when it comes to your investments. Another value could be enjoyment, because research actually shows us the way that you spend your money can actually lead to increased levels of happiness. But if you value enjoyment and your partner values security or stability, for example, then you might not agree on how to spend your money, because if there is an extra amount of money left, they might want to spend it on something that they enjoy, and you might prefer to put it in your emergency fund or put it away towards your debt, which I would always vouch for paying off high-cost debt first, of course. But it's important to understand why you each value different things and why you want to put your money towards different goals. Because this would take us to the next step, which is agreeing your shared goals for your household. Make your goals SMART. That means they're specific, measurable, attainable, so they're not unrealistic, relevant, and time-based. So it's important to say, we want to build an emergency fund of this amount by this time, rather than just saying we want an emergency fund, because how big is the emergency fund, and also how long is it going to take you to reach it? If your value is growth, for example, then you might look towards putting more money into your investment portfolio. Or if your value is freedom, because you want to reach financial freedom at a certain point and not work until retirement age, then you might more aggressively put your money towards a financial freedom fund. But it's important to get on the same page as your partner when it comes to this, because it doesn't help one person wants to save and the other wants to spend. You can also just start by setting a short-term, a medium, and a long-term goal. Your long-term goal might be to reach financial freedom. Then your medium-term goal would be to reach this amount of money, let's say, for example, 500,000 Rand in your investment portfolio in 2 years' time. And if you want to bring that to a short-term or immediate goal, that could mean saying, we're going to put away 20,000 Rand a month towards our financial freedom fund. Other goals could also include putting away money to your child's education or saving for a holiday house or whatever you feel your relationship values and that both of you agree on. Next is you want to agree as a household how you're going to be spending your money on a month-by-month basis. And yes, at the start, this might entail a detailed budgeting process, but if you go through this once, it's really just something that you can update annually. Look at dividing your money into 3 buckets, into wants, needs, and invest. Or if we just reorder that, it would be when. So the one that you would start with is actually needs, because these are your fixed essentials that you can't get away from. And this is the money that you're actually spending to survive. So that would be housing and food and transport and perhaps education for your kids. The next bucket would be the invest bucket. I would usually say a minimum of 20% towards your investment. But in this bucket, you can also consider if you've got any investments or contributions towards, for example, a pension fund from your employers, then you might be able to reduce the amount that you actually invest. If you're only getting started later in life on your investments, then 20% might actually not even be sufficient. You might have to ramp that up. Then within your investment cash flow, this 20% cash flow, consider what's priority for you. Is the first thing for you to pay off high cost debts? Then start building an emergency fund. Or if you're saying, I don't have high cost debts and I've already built up an emergency fund, then really look into investing in the stock market, because this is the way that you're going to build long-term wealth. The third bucket is the wants bucket. I a lot of the time see people confusing wants with needs. A want really is something that you're choosing to have. So for example, if you've got someone that helps you around the house, then at a certain point, this actually becomes a luxury. And I wouldn't necessarily put this down as a need, but rather a want. Or if you're driving a fancy car and this prevents you from putting away enough towards your investments every month, then at some point you might have to make the hard decision of saying, I'm actually going to sell my expensive car, because the amount that it's going towards my car every month is preventing me from putting enough away towards my investment portfolio. Wants could also include entertainment costs or holiday costs or anything that you're putting your money away towards for your luxuries. Also, once you agree on your wants and you've got your allocated budget, I would agree on a household wants budget, which is things that you together as a household spend, but also individual ones, which could be going to the golf course or buying a new set of clubs, or for the ladies, doing your hair and doing your nails. And usually it is the case that the woman needs a little bit more budget in individual ones. And especially if it's important for you to look nice and for your partner to look nice, then that might be a little bit more money for them in that bucket. Step 4 is money logistics. And this is really agreeing on who pays for what, or are we using a joint account? And something that I have realized is actually, and the data shows us, is when couples combine their finances, as in they actually go as far as using joint accounts, then they report higher levels of relationship satisfaction. So for a long time, my husband and I actually treated our finance as separate. And this also before and after we got married, actually for a while. I saw my income as mine and he saw his income as his. But once we decided, okay, we're both going to put money towards our joint household expenses on a monthly basis, that really made our lives much easier. It might not always be practical for you to have a joint account, and especially if you're not married yet, then you might also question whether this is the best way to go. So if you don't want to take a joint account approach, then you can really just agree on who pays for what to make sure that the splits in your contributions are fair. And I'm saying fair and not equal, because if one person earns significantly more than the other, then you should really have an honest conversation about whether I don't think it's fair for people to contribute equally towards rent or, for example, towards food expenses in the house if one earns significantly more than the other. I would really consider doing income-based or percentage-based contributions towards your expenses. So then back to the joint accounts, is if you decide to go the joint account approach, then each of you can contribute in ratio to what you earn towards a joint account. And from that account, you will pay your household expenses. The fifth and final step is to set up a monthly money date. And this is really for you to revisit your finances, but also to make it fun. If you can agree on how much each of you are spending and also where your money is going, as in, yes, we might not have the high budget that you normally do for holidays, but it's because we're putting this amount away towards our investments. It can be so empowering to actually understand why there are limits on certain things, rather than just being told, no, sorry, we don't have money for that now. It's actually because we are choosing to put our money towards something that is a long-term goal, like paying off debt or building up an investment portfolio. This is really why I want to encourage you to see your budget or your money dates as an empowering process. Because if you don't ever get on the same page when it comes to your money and where it's going and what's a priority, these conversations are always going to be really hard and awkward and conflict-inducing. So I want to encourage you, it's not going to be perfect the first time, is to have your first money date, to have an open conversation, agree where your money goes and what's a priority and what are your goals in terms of the steps I've shared with you. And I would really love your feedback on this, by the way, if it's working for you, what you'd like additional guidance on, and also what you're struggling with, and perhaps I can make another video to address that. But because I realize that couples and finances, it's really a really tricky topic. And people we don't have guidance around this. We don't even know how should you split costs. If someone has debts, should the other person also take responsibility for paying it off? And there are some really tricky conversations to be held. And some people just never open that communication channel. It remains an awkward and conflict-inducing topic forever. This is why I created a couples course, and we're launching it for the first time, and it's going to be live launch in Stellenbosch in South Africa on the 14th and 15th of June. It's going to be an amazing event, honestly, and I wish it's something that I had just before we got married or even after we got married. Because it's something that's relevant to us right now, but also relevant to our parents. All ages are welcome, all couples are welcome, because I think it's a valuable conversation and guidance to have regardless of where you are in your relationship. And the way that we're designing this, if you can't make it live, we will at some point take this online, and there is a waitlist that you can join to show your interest so that we can let you know when it is live. But it's really like I'm designing this workshop as in you're taking a step back and you're taking a moment to reflect on what are you actually trying to achieve? How much money do you need? What is valuable to you? Is it really the freedom that comes with money, or is it more the enjoyment? And also, as a couple, what do you value? It's really going to be 2 full fun days. It's going to be interactive activities, questionnaires and quizzes, and you're going to walk away with a new mindset when it comes to money. It's one area where there's a lot of psychology, but also a lot of logistics involved, and I want to address these 2 topics. Anyway, I hope to see you there, but if you're not in the area, there is also, you can show your interest to join the online course once it's live, and if you let us know through the link, I'll share the link in the description, then we'll obviously send you an email when it is live so that you can also take part. But please let me know in the comments if there is anything that you need additional guidance on and anything that you struggle with as a couple. See you next time.